Hey guys, this is From Steph to You, bringing you kind of like a new thing I'm going to be doing. Sorry I haven't done a video in a while, just been real busy with school and everything, but I will be doing a UFC video and staying up on that. But I'm going to do some NFL picks. I'm going to do the picks for the different teams, and I'm also going to be doing fantasy as well through DraftKings. As you know, DraftKings is a PPR league, and they also get bonuses if you rush over 100 yards, pass for over 300 yards, receive for over 300 yards. So anyway, let me just get to it. So first, I'm going to do my picks for the week. Uh, it's already Saturday here, so I already had picked Indianapolis and they've won. So that game's already over. But for the New Orleans Saints versus the Philadelphia Eagles, I'm actually going to take the Eagles in that game. I think that the rush attack is going to be a little bit too much because, as you know, if you ever want to keep a good quarterback, even though that Drew Brees is back, you ever want to beat a good quarterback, you need to run the football. And I think that them being at home with all the stuff that's been going on, I think that they'll be able to come back strong. Plus, Sam Bradford might have a pretty good game because the secondary for the Saints is not very good. And then Chicago, Kansas City. Again, Kansas City, they can win in so many different ways. Running the ball, using the West Coast offense to get the running backs involved. Chicago is just an accident waiting to happen. They're falling apart. They're getting rid of all of their star players. They're talking about all the locker room problems. Jay Cutler is a turnover machine, and that defense is still very good. So I'm going to take Kansas City in that one. Seattle versus Cincinnati. I'm going to take an upset in this one. I'm going to take Cincinnati. I think Seattle not having Marshawn Lynch is really going to hurt them. Even their backup, Fred Jackson's still injured, so they're going to be using an undrafted rookie, Rawls, to go against that Cincinnati defense. Tyler Eifert has been great. They've had a great tight end. AJ Green has just been going off. So I'm going to go ahead and take Cincinnati. Washington versus Atlanta. Obviously, I'm going to take Atlanta. They're at home. They have way too much firepower on that offense. And even if Washington's defense does well, I don't think that they'll be able to win. The only chance they have is to run the ball because Atlanta has the league's worst rush defense. But I just don't know, with the inconsistency of Alfred Morris and Matt Jones, I don't know if they'll be able to do that. Jacksonville at Tampa Bay. I'm going to take Jacksonville. I think that their defense is good. They've got Blake Bortles is really coming into his own. Hearns and Robinson are both good players. I think looking forward to seeing some from T.J. Yeldon. And really, Jameis Winston has not done very well. He's turned the ball over. I saw last week he threw a pass as he's falling to his knee and just turnover machine. And then Cleveland at Baltimore. Even with Steve Smith being out, I am going to take Baltimore. I like Justin Forsett. They're going up against one of the worst defenses. I think he'll have a big game. And really, I just don't see Cleveland being able to get the ball. I mean, all their big plays have come on deep bombs to Travis Benjamin. So I'm going to take them. Buffalo at Tennessee. I actually like Tennessee in this one. Even though Buffalo, we keep hearing about how great their team's supposed to be, but they can't score points, and their defense has not been nearly as good as everybody thought it was going to be. With that being said, I like Tennessee's. I think their receivers, are pretty deep. I think that they have a lot of speed that really, that Buffalo won't be able to hang with. St. Louis at Green Bay. This is going to be a tough game because, again, if you want to beat a good quarterback, you got to run the football. And as we've seen last week with their new guy Todd Gurley, they can run the football. But I think Green Bay will win. I just think they're going to have they're going to put up too many points for St. Louis's offense to really hang with them. Arizona at Detroit. Again, I'm going to take Arizona because again, Joique Bell is out. They haven't had an answer at running back for the Detroit Lions. Calvin Johnson's going to probably be one of the greatest ever, but he's going up against a really tough defense that has had several defensive touchdowns, sacks, turnovers. I think they're the top one or two defenses in the league. They're just gonna, and then now Carson Palmer at 36 years old, he's just bombing it. Larry Fitzgerald's coming into his own. They have John Brown. They're running the ball pretty effectively with Chris Johnson. I think they're gonna win. New England at Dallas. I would take New England no matter what, just because I think they're the better team, even with Tony Romo. But definitely, since Tony Romo and Des Bryant are out, this is not even going to be fair. I think that the Patriots are going to blow them out. So even you might want to look at your fantasy team and maybe getting LeGarrette Blount in there if you're really pressed, because as we saw last week, he came out in the second half and had like 28 points because he's just getting garbage time, and he's kind of closing out the game. Whereas Dion Lewis is a running back that the Patriots like to use more as a when they're trying to pass the ball. So as far as closing the game out, he'll be pretty good for you. Denver at Oakland. I'm going to take Denver. Oakland has actually surprised me. Their defense has done pretty well, and the Amari Cooper and Derek Carr have been pretty good. But I think Denver's defense is really too good. I think they're going to kind of pick on Carr and on the rookie Cooper. Peyton Manning, I think he'll do pretty well. I think they're going to run the ball a lot too, though, on Oakland. So I'll go ahead and take the Broncos in that one. And then coming up in the next one here, we have San Francisco at New York. I'm going to take New York. Colin Kaepernick is just falling apart. They haven't been able to run the ball, even though Carlos Hyde came out very well. It came out very to be pretty productive in their first week. I just think that New York's their offense is too high powered. The defense, even though they're not that good, they have shown up in recent weeks. So I'll take the Giants. Pittsburgh versus San Diego. I don't really like either one of these teams right now. Both of them are not playing up to their potential. Pittsburgh, I understand because Ben Roethlisberger's out. Le'Veon Bell should have a big fantasy game against the Chargers defense, but I'm going to take San Diego to win that game. Now into my fantasy picks. So this week, I'm really happy to be a Patriots fan because Tom Brady is going to absolutely shred that defense. Greg Hardy, I don't know if you guys read, had been in the news with his comments about Tom Brady, and he just wants to sack the quarterback, and even talking about Tom Brady's wife and her sister. He wishes that she hopes they're there, all this other stuff. But Brady's putting up 28.5 points per game. He's throwing for and on away games, which this isn't going to be an away game. He's throwing 32 points per game. He's going to come in at 7,800, but I think he's going to be well worth it. If you're looking for more of a mid-level guy, Carson Palmer is an option. He's putting up 23 points per game, and they're going up against a fairly weak secondary of the Detroit Lions. Peyton Manning, he hasn't actually had great stats at home. He's only averaging 15 points per game total, but he's got 22 points per game away, and this is against the Raiders. I think that he should have some success. And a nice value pick would be Blake Bortles against the Buccaneers, coming in at 14 points per game, but he does rush quite a bit. He's got, he's only 5,100. He's got some receivers that are pretty explosive. I think he could have a big day. On running backs, I like Le'Veon Bell this week because he's going to pretty much be the whole focus of that offense. If you're looking for a mid-level guy, Justin Forsett, again, he's averaging 11.6 points per game, but he's a PPR matchup nightmare, and it's going pretty against pretty weak Browns defense and secondary, so I think he'll do pretty well. Dion Lewis, I mean, at 4,800, I don't think you can get much better. He's getting 19.5 points per game. He's catching the ball out of the backfield. He's rushing for touchdowns, and he's only 4,800. Another value pick would be about 4,300, Todd Gurley. I think that the Rams, if they have any shot of winning against Green Bay, they're going to have to run the ball, and I think that he could be very effective in doing that. I'm not by any means saying he's going to be a lock to have a big day, but at 4,300, he's going to get the ball a lot because I think that's going to be the game plan that they're going to have to keep Aaron Rodgers on the sidelines. At wide receiver, I really like Julian Edelman. I don't really like to pay for top wide receivers because, as we all know, the NFL is it's a passing league, and one receiver can go off one week and the next, unless you've got like a Julio Jones or so. But even then, these guys can just fall apart. As you saw last week, Odell Beckham didn't get even as many points as Ruben Randle, who was half the cost of him. So if I'm going to pay for people, I like to pay for running backs because you can kind of bank on those guys getting their touches, whereas receivers, it's just going to be who's open or what have you. I like Julian Edelman though because at 7,000, he's not a top 5 receiver, but I'd say he's top 10, top 15. He's always a PPR nightmare. He's averaging 24 points per game. Tom Brady's going to go to him, often, and I think he'll do very well. Mid-level, I also like Kendall Wright. He's 5,400 on DraftKings. He's a PPR nightmare, and he's got a lot of speed, which if you look at the top corner for the Bills, which is Stephon Gilmore, he really struggles with the quick, shifty receivers, so I think that he'll have a pretty good game. And then as a value pick, I like Travis Benjamin as well. Travis Benjamin, he's getting 20 points per game. He's only $4,500, and uh, he's done. I know most of his points come off these big bombs, but he's going against a really weak secondary. I really like him in this week's matchup. For tight ends, if you want to pay the money, it's going against a tough defense against tight ends. But Rob Gronkowski, obviously, always the top choice. He's going to get touchdown. He's going to get receptions. He's going to get targeted a lot. But for this week, I really like, as a mid-level pick, I really like Tyler Eifert. He's going against the defense that's giving up the 28th most, or no, the ranked 28th against tight ends. So they're at the bottom of the league and going against tight ends. He's pretty, he can have big games. We saw in the week 1, he can have 2 touchdown, 100 yard, 10 plus catch games. 4,600. He's being targeted a lot, and that defense, of Seattle is going to probably hone in a lot on AJ Green. So I think Eifert was going to be able to get you something. Another value pick would be Delaney Walker. He's not too expensive. He's coming in. Let's see, what is he coming in at? Delaney Walker coming in at 3,800. They're going against the 27th ranked defense against tight ends. He's going to have a big game. There's not too many stars on the Titans, but I think he could have a pretty good day for you. And then on his defense and special teams, I like the Broncos or the Chiefs. The Broncos, against Oakland, that's kind of tricky because it's the Raiders aren't as bad as they normally are. So, but I really like the Chiefs this week. I think the Chiefs are going to have a big day. That defense is still elite. They can still get things done, and they're going against the Chicago Bears, who are turn the ball over so much. Jay Cutler is a nightmare. So, as a flex play, I really like Matt Forte or Eddie Lacy. Again, you can count on those guys getting the ball. They're going to get the ball. Especially Forte, he's going to catch it out of the backfield. And this week, my lineup is Tom Brady, Justin Forsett, Dion Lewis, Julian Edelman, Travis Benjamin, Kendall Wright, Tyler Eifert. At flex, I got Matt Forte, but you can kind of switch him in and out with Eddie Lacy. But I'm going to take Forte just because I think that he's going to get more receptions. And then I'm going to take the Chiefs defense. That leaves me $300. That's my lineup. So I hope you guys like the new feature. This one is a little bit quicker for me to do than the UFC ones. I really like to, with the fighters, I like to do all the research as I can, because a lot of these guys I'm not as familiar with, whereas I know my football pretty well, and it's a lot easier to do. But anyway, like, subscribe. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully you can win some money, and we'll see you guys around.